I still don't have a rice cooker yet. I'm still always cooking my rice on the stove in a pot, which I know isn't ideal or the best way to cook rice, but it is what it is. And because it is what it is, we gotta figure out a way to work around it. So I'm always looking for little tricks and hacks to making rice. And this guy, Steve Owen, has a really fantastic one. And the trick is using a rag. So let's just jump right into it and learn how to make perfect short grain rice. And I've been cooking a lot of rice lately, and this short grain sushi style rice is my favorite. I like it better than jasmine rice. It's my rice of choice, and today we're gonna learn how to make it perfect. Foolproof. You can't screw this up as long as you follow these directions. I'll leave a link down to Steve's channel if you want to check it out, but his main trick to this is a towel. This towel is gonna ensure that your pot is super sealed tightly. It's gonna allow the rice to steam perfectly, and it's a great little hack. We're also gonna use the right ratio of rice to water. We've done a rice video before. We talked about how the rice instructions on every package tell you to use too much water. The ratio is 1 part short grain rice to 1 part water. So the first thing we need to do is rinse the rice. So for me, about 1.5 cups of rice to 2 cups of rice of this style rice is enough for 3-4 people. So I always go with a minimum of 1.5 cups. And then we're just gonna add 1.5 cups of water to that. So I'm gonna measure it out. That's roughly right. I'm just gonna fill this up with water. And then we wanna get in there, and we're gonna start to rub that starch. And you see it get nice and milky instantly. When we see that, we rinse it out, we add more water. And then repeat that process until most of the starch has been rinsed off. Now I've let this sit overnight and let this soak and come out great the next day. You could then use this right away as long as you give it a good few rinses. It's gonna be hard to get all the starch out, but you're looking for it to visibly get less starchy in the water. So just know your goal is to get as much starch out. The longer you do it, the more starch you're gonna be able to pull out. So it's up to you how much time you have. But usually I'll do this like an hour before and just let this kind of sit for a minimum of an hour if I can. If not, we cook it as normal anyway. Once you're done soaking the rice or rinsing it, strain out all the water and then we're ready to cook. So now I have my 1.5 cups of rice going into the pot. And now I'm gonna add 1.5 cups of water. And now that goes in. Now you might have heard that finger trick where they say that the water should come up to the first line of your finger. That actually doesn't really work for me, surprisingly. What works for me is half of my finger. And I've been measuring this rice out, then pouring it in, and then doing the finger, and it's really kind of verified that it only goes up halfway to your finger. So this is just my experience that seems like we're putting a lot of water into our rice. I'm gonna throw in some salt. I'm gonna bring this over to the stove with a rag and a plate. It'll make sense. Get the pot on high heat to start and bring to a light boil while stirring the rice to ensure nothing sticks on the bottom. Once you start to see the water beginning to boil, turn off the heat and place the towel over the pot, then close the pot lid tightly on top of the towel. Fold the towel over the lid, then place a plate on top just as an extra fire safety precaution. Then get the heat back onto its lowest setting. I move the whole pot to my weakest burner and then cook it for exactly 10 minutes. Then shut the heat off, move to a cooler burner and let it steam with the lid on for at least 5 more minutes, and you can let that sit longer if you need, if you're preparing a meal. Open up the lid, and if you did it right, there should be no more moisture left. The rice shouldn't stick to the bottom of the pan. Nothing should be mushy. You should have perfect rice. Man, it's foolproof. Every time I've cooked it this way, it's like straight out of a Japanese restaurant. I love rice. Shout out to Steve Owen for the towel idea. Sushi rice is my favorite to make fried rice with, so if you got extras, make sure you save that. I'm working on my fried rice recipe. That'll be coming soon. Until then, I want you to go give this a shot. Let me know if it worked for you. Let me know if it solved any of your rice issues. I think this trick is gonna solve it. Thank you to all my patrons scrolling up on the screen. Appreciate all your support. If you want to support me, you could become a patron. Link down in the description and on the screen. You could also buy some merch, some Hate Less, Cook More merch. I had a guy who just got scammed because he Googled Hate Less, Cook More instead of following my links. And there's a lot of people just taking Hate Less, Cook More and putting it on shirts. So if you want one officially, make sure you visit my links. Don't try and search it on Google. Anyway, that's all that I have for you today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.